car wash. Please select a wash by touching the corresponding button on the screen.
What a nice, friendly voice.
Then touch enter when finished.
We're going up to Koenigs, Wisconsin, to the Menominee Reservation. We're going to see Vicky Harrison. She's like a sister to me, and yeah, I've known her a long time. We met at Cheetah Correctional Institution. I was serving a 20-year sentence, and so was she. Called Menominee Lake. I think it's Koenigs Lake. So here's Vicky's.
You're in the movies, girl.
My name is Vicky Harrison. I'm Menominee Ho-Chunk, Native American. I put on parties, events, big events for the tribe. Mostly all the tribal events, I put those on. I have 4 kids. I was born in Shawano and lived mostly on the Menominee Indian Reservation. The relationship my mom and dad had wasn't very good. My mom started drinking, and I didn't like that environment, so I ran away from home. And I lived in the cities. Then I went to prison.
And your whole, if I remember correctly, was you did away with someone who was abusing one of your siblings and her children.
Very domestic violence.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then
no one thinks of that.
No, that you can't defend yourself, that a woman can't defend herself. My whole life, it seems like there was just a pattern of fight and protect, fight and protect. I did a total of 15 years. I was facing a life sentence without the possibility of parole. Being in prison and having children on the outside, it's very stressful, very difficult, because you can't help them. So that was my determination to do good in prison and try to get out as soon as possible.
These prayers are coming from our heart. We're praying for safe journey for Debbie and Mabel, and to be successful in all that you do, to have love and happiness all the time, and everybody that you meet. Oftentimes I would look out my window. There was a woods behind, and I would see those animals out there. I'm like, oh my gosh, look at them deer roaming free. They're animals. And look at me, I'm a human being. I'm locked up behind these wire bars, these bars. It was just devastating at times. Sometimes you just didn't feel like I wanted to go on, but I had kids that I had to think about. I did my sentences. I got released. I took all the programs in prison. I just educated myself. Educate.
Yeah, you survived.
I survived. Her name is Pitapanuki. She never spoke English. She was a medicine woman for Menominees. Yeah, Pitapanuki. Yeah, she picked medicines and everything. I'm going to school to be a substance abuse counselor. So I want to help the people that are struggling with alcohol and drugs, because it's such a big epidemic up here. See, this is all that's left of the Spirit Rock. It used to be huge. We have a stone up here. It's called Spirit Rock. They said when that stone is gone, then all the natives will be gone. And if you look at that rock, it's just barely there. And I see that's what them drugs are doing to our people, killing them off. The people are struggling. But this is just a beautiful land, and I just love it here. It brings me happiness and peace and joy. It's heaven on earth for me.
Well, hello everyone, and thank you for coming. Those who are here inquiring about Child Support Adjustment Clinic, and you're here because there's something important that you want to get done with your child support. My name is Eugene Crisler'El. I am a father of 4, one on the way. I am a martial artist. I am a facilitator, organizer. I am a husband, and I'm just a community member, just trying to help my community out as best way I can. Yeah. I grew up around Madison. I moved a lot. So I moved pretty much on every side of town to Madison. My mom went to prison. So I had moved into a foster home right after they raided my mom's house for temporary placement. And my mom and I, we've always been best friends. So like when they took my mom, with like my world like shattered. To have to go somewhere scary looking, old, castle looking, and then all of a sudden you're just seeing these barbed wire fences, and they're telling you to go through this metal detector, and at 10, 11 years old, like, you don't really know about that. There's rules that you gotta follow, like I can't hug my mom, but one time, right as when we meet, and then one time as we leave, and then I have to leave. I can't take you home with me. I definitely don't want to stay here, but I don't want to leave without you. I had a lot of childhood traumas that was trying to be worked out, but as you're a child, it really doesn't work out that way. That was something I would never want any other kid to have to go through, but unfortunately that happens every day. I've had 2 experiences of being in prison. The first experience that I had when I was 17, 18, it was a lot different than the last time I was in prison. I was still young-minded. I didn't care what anyone thought. Things changed a lot. I came out not knowing how to use a computer, not knowing how to actually use the software, and then you find yourself, incarcerated again, and then the software gets updated and it develops even more, and then you're like, okay, now I'm way behind. So I think the acclimating back into the community was something, was a struggle. I'll be there to pick you up. About 4. The last time I got out, it was different because I was charged with a lot of energy to get out and move forward with my life. Started going to a fatherhood program with the Urban League.
I love you.
You left your Instagram account on her phone. You doing homework?
Yeah. Denise was just talking about that.
I decided to change and move forward and get what I needed out of life, and that was more stability for myself, a relationship with my children, definitely for the child that was born while I was incarcerated. I missed out on 15 months of her life, but that 15 months I had time to be able to recuperate, reevaluate, rebalance, and define who I really am. How you doing?
How about you?
Good. It's good to see you again.
What's going on, man? How you feeling?
All right. You here for the child support stuff, or you just here chilling?
Yeah, no, he called me.
Oh, he called? Yeah.
I told him the child support. He need help with it too.
Yeah. So the session that we went into today was called the Child Support Adjustment Clinic. Something we do with the Urban League to make sure that we are servicing people and giving the information out there to people who may need help and don't know where to go to get it. And so we partnered up with Dane County Child Support Agency and the UW Law Clinic to make sure that people who feel like they want to make an adjustment to their support arrears or to their custody, we have them come meet once a month.
I need custody of, I need some visitation rights for my children. My baby mama's been claiming my kids all their lives. I feel that it's time for me to claim my kids. I've been working all my life.
Yeah, it can be frustrating dealing with that. You know, for me, it's like internalizing everything that they're going through, right? Because what they've gone through or going through, I've gone through or am going through, and needing to let them know that they are special, that they don't need to give up, and they shouldn't give up, and that they need to, you know, be accountable for what they need to do. So what's your situation like, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, I had, it's just such a long, I don't even know where to start from. My kid's father.
I could relate to the mother who was saying that the father was keeping the children away and wanted child support. You know, it's sad to me to see the mom have tears in her eyes because the things that she was dealing with. But then I've seen her walking away happy and smiling because she got the services and she got the answers and got information that she didn't think that she was gonna get. So that's why I like to go in and ask, like, how was it? Did you get anything? Did you learn anything? Can you tell me real quick what it was? And, you know, and make sure that we lift them up. You know, we gotta lift them up.
Even when Congresswoman Moore found out you all were in Oklahoma and there was a bunch in Alderson, I had no idea. There were a number of other people in the legislature that were on certain committees that had no idea all these women were moved out and put into these institutions in other states at these exorbitant costs. And then so many of them, some had lost their children because if you don't have contact with your child within 18 months,
Exactly.
that child can be automatically put up for adoption. So they were losing their children, some in the process of losing their children.
It was women like you that went to that luncheon that the governor had that had found out and got him Thompson.
Yeah.
To say, I will get them all back by Thanksgiving.
Yes, he sure did.
And that's why we got back.
He did. My name is Antonia Drew Norton, formerly Antonia Van. That's with the field of violence against women prevention. Knows me as for the past 35 plus years. I'm born and raised in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Came from a two-parent household. I went to Riverside High School, and from Riverside High School, I started out actually going to MATC. I also was working for a program that did fair housing. So I'm invested in the community. And what was interesting about those early years, what stood out was I didn't see people in that work that looked like me. And so that was interesting and something that I wanted to change. So I had to figure out where I would fit in to be able to help making those changes. During incarceration, the challenges centered around possibilities of doing something different, possibilities of using that time to grow. I accepted my case. Was I wrongfully incarcerated? I believe I was, but it was God's purpose for me to be there. So I didn't challenge any of that. Some of the things I did help people do was be able to access information. I was helping people learn how to read, learn how to tell time, and that's what it was. So changing my environment, focus was working on me in the service of others. You know, because what I was actually doing in the process of beginning to understand what I was going to do was build this ministry. Oh, when I came home, that was a challenge. I tried to go back. Everybody was using crack cocaine, and at that time, I couldn't get a job. So I was trying to not go back to any of those roads of hanging out in the bars, the drinking, you know. I recall stopping at the telephone booth on Center Street, and I called for Department of Correction to send the transporter to get me. I said, put me back behind the wall. Everybody and their mama is crazy. There's so much rejection and challenges. So I had one job, but when I answered the question about have you ever been convicted of a felony, then all of a sudden they withdrew the job offer. And so that's when I made that call. Those people put me on hold and they put me on hold and kept me on hold so long that I just had to hang up because they weren't coming back, you know. So I know they were kind of tripping. It's like, she's trying to go back to prison, you know. But I haven't done anything, or, you know, it's just, I can't cope with this.
Here's some more offices.
So my new staff are going here.
So this is where her new staff is gonna go.
Asha is a ministry. Most people would say it seems more like a ministry than it is an agency. Victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, human trafficking. That's what Asha's work is about, providing resources and supports for that population. But it was also critical that I knew experientially while incarcerated that no one came in to talk to us about what domestic violence is, or helping us address sexual assault, helping us address human trafficking, and they certainly weren't going to pay for it out of their budget. And so it was important for me, if I could get funding for it, fine. If I couldn't, that wasn't why I was there. So if I never got a dime, I was gonna pay for it out of my pocket to send my team into institutions to be able to work with women, to hold the sister circle, support groups, you know, preparation for being out. What's some of the things to be able to do, how to do your time and not let your time do you. The first day you go in, that's the day you start preparing to come out. And so for me, what are they coming out to? They gotta have jobs, they gotta have housing, they gotta have access to clothes and resources and supports, and that are meaningful. You know, I had to make sure that our housing for women coming out of institutions wasn't sitting in a drug den or in a block that was high crime and that was set up for them to fail, but also a decent space that said, we value you. So the nursing department will have their table equipment to be able to do assessments with survivors that are seen in our transitional housing, those that were seen in other programs. This includes men that are involved in services, women, children. So that partnership has been really wonderful. And the nurses will also see survivors in their transitional housing units. So oftentimes you'll have women are sore, they're beat up, they're in a state of trauma, and It's challenging for them to sit in an ER. In this way, they can be seen and have a full health screen done right in their own private transitional living unit. So that's awesome.
Good afternoon, Lord. Thank you for this time that you set aside for us to be together today. We know you're the source of all plans, and in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. We claiming it.
Amen.
We claiming it.
It's going to be a testimony for her.
And for all, for you too.
From the van.
Oh,
It's going to be a testimony.
big testimony. Yeah.
My name is Anthony. No, I'm just playing. I'm sorry. We can start all over. It's been a long day for me, so I gotta get my goofiness out of my head. Lean on.
What's your name?
Oh, my name is Anthony Cooper, singer. I have a couple different titles. One for Nehemiah Center for Urban Leadership. I'm their Vice President of Reentry Services and Strategic Partnerships. Then also, I am the CEO and one of the founders for Focus Interruption. All right, as this is very impromptu. So I know there hasn't really been any calls in the Middlewood neighborhood, so I'm not too worried about anything right now, but I know coming up soon. We mainly deal with violence prevention strategies for Dane County, and also being able to find different ways to help family members not only de-escalate violence, but then also being able to find suitable ways to be able to help them get to that next step in their own lives. Life before I went to prison was I was a young man, definitely just trying to figure things out and trying to navigate, trying to see, okay, where can I fit into this thing called life? Was it military? Was it, what was gonna make the most sense? School, I didn't necessarily feel was an option. I think it was knowing bits of what those opportunities could have been, but not feeling as though that they were reachable. And then also being in a single parent household, it wasn't anything my mother put onto me, but I was trying to be a provider, but didn't necessarily really know what provider looked like. Really just something, I sold drugs, right? And feeling as though this was the only way to get myself as well as my family ahead. When you asked me to think of how did I feel while I was in prison, I think that was my first real reality of what depression was. I want to make sure that my sons would never come and see me in prison again, and that my mom would never come and see me in prison again. I never wanted someone to be in control of my life ever again like that. Hey, I'm sorry, man. Don't even worry about coming unless you just want to come to Deluxe and sit with us before your other meeting. Right now, we're going to go to Dane County Jail as I'm going to visit someone that is there. That's also a part of our, we make it a part of our way of not only just connecting with people, but also being able to bring resources to them. And, everyone from Dane County Jail as well as prison. I mean, there's not too many people that are in there to do life sentences. Most people who go in will come out. So how do we make sure that they're also knowing that when they do come out, they're not by themselves? When you first come home, and if you sold dope, whatever the case may be, your thing is like, all right, I knew I had to do something different than what everyone expected from me. I was happy I was going home, But I think the other flip side is like, all right, so how am I gonna do this now? Because it wasn't easy of, hey, all right, yep, as soon as you come home, I got a job for you. Boom, you got it. Right. You know what I mean? Everything's cool. Well, none of that. You know what I mean? Or, hey, and if you get a job, is it gonna be enough to be able to take care of your family? So when I came home, like I say, Papa John's Pizza was the first job I ended up getting. I get out for work, drop the boys off, and then I'll go and volunteer when I can. I used to volunteer at Urban League of Greater Madison. Then eventually ended up working in a warehouse position, able to make some more money, and and I would still volunteer. I did that for a little while, and then as I kept growing, I kept doing other stuff, and actually I ended up working for the program. When we sit down, talk to them about life, our conversation is never about their case, unless they want to talk about it, right? But our conversation is about, what does support look like? That means support while they're incarcerated, support once they come from incarceration, support from, what does their family support look like? And also, what is it that they want out of life? No one, the thought process is say, oh, you know what, little Johnny has always been into crime and always will be into crime. That's not, when people are born, that's not the thought. You gotta think about, how did that person get there? Little Johnny may have wanted to be a lawyer, or little Johnny may have wanted to be a teacher or a janitor, or some people, they just felt like, hey, I never had that opportunity to become. So what we do to talk about those types of things, or just talk about life, it's the human part of being able just to connect with people and just meet them where they're at, and then we both learn and grow together.
The system that we have here in the United States, Wisconsin, is developed to psychologically tear you down. And it does a very good job at that.
When I think about some of the people that were in the halfway house with me when I came home, damn near, if not all, most went back to prison 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times.
For those of us that were in a while, we had to sit there and watch the number of women that paroled out. 2 or 3 months later, they were coming back. And then understanding the dynamics that were going on in their lives, because they had histories of victimization that was never dealt with. They were never helped to process any of that information.
If we're going to talk about corrections, or if we're going to say Department of Corrections or whatever, I feel like they have some correcting to do in their system.
In that culture of the Department of Corrections, no one has the lived experience to understand what someone's going through as a person who's been incarcerated. We don't have people that we can see that says, hey, this person went down the wrong road. Now, like, they have a felony, they can't get a good job. So that means they can't get a good job and pay for a house or pay the bills or get insurance. Like, that is a major issue. And that trickles down from employment to housing to education. So yeah, I believe that the person that's closest to the solution is the one that's been through it all.
People with lived experiences in this work are not only more relatable, but they're more accepting by the people that we're targeting services for. And you're gonna make decisions for a population you have intimate knowledge of.
Peer support from formerly incarcerated people, talking to them, coming in there just to let them know what the resources are.
You also have the issue of survivors' ability to trust you. And if you don't have lived experience, you have more of what has traumatized me and my community. That's how you're seen.
We don't work for law enforcement, but we will have a conversation and say, look, the can we work with this brother? Let us talk to him. He's not going to talk to you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Besides if you're a law enforcement, social worker, whatever the case may be.
Right.
But because he knows our life story,
Right.
he or she knows our life story. We've been there, done that.
Mhm.
Now, how can we navigate differently?
When I was in prison, I used to feel, I used to feel bad because the way the guards would look at me, and when I had to go out and take out the garbage, I wasn't trusted to go outside of the Sally Port. And now in my job, I'm in a vault with cash, millions of dollars cash, money by myself. You know, that was freedom for me. Like, wow, I'm trusted. I got that trust back.
Everyone thinks because an individual goes to jail, goes to prison, that they did something bad. A lot of times that's true, but there's a lot of times where that's not so true. They could have been in a situation or, you know, where they couldn't get themselves out of, or they're with someone, or they have trauma and they don't know that they do, and all of a sudden they're being criminalized for the trauma that they have or the mental illness that they have.
I don't feel like Department of Corrections is what corrected me, right? You know what I mean? I had to come to a sound stance in my life to say, okay, I need to do something different. It's not them changing people. People have to be willing to change.
Somebody gave me a chance. So, you know, I believe, because I hire and fire people, so I always believe in second chances, third chances, fourth chances, because I know there's so much trauma in people's lives. People made it work for me, so now I go out there and make it work for them. And my employees love coming to work. They love their job.
People forget that they're imperfect, right? I don't care who you are. I don't care if you have your PhD. You've done something wrong in your life to someone or something. You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. We don't have to grow on our imperfections, but we can grow on doing things better in life later on down the road.